Hello and welcome back to Speed Freak Garage, home of power sports on YouTube. Today we are going to be installing the Takomoto starting capacitor because there is a major flaw in the design of this bike, and if your battery dies, you cannot bump start it. You can't pull start it, you can't roll start it, it just won't start. And that is super dangerous, not only as a daily driver, but also for the Baja. If you're out in the middle of the desert and you have a battery problem, you need to be able to get the bike started. So we went ahead and bought their starting capacitor as a precaution. So the first thing we want to do is remove the seat. And luckily on the 2024 model, it's literally just this one screw. And then once the screw's out, you just want to lift up a little bit, kind of pull forward, and then give it a smack. Yeah. And that's it. It just comes right out. Nice and simple. Just going to set that there. And I'm not really seeing a good place to put the capacitor, but luckily we can get to the battery terminals nice and easy. It looks like, I don't know if Husqvarna installed the trickle charger, which is just zip tied here, or if the dealership did that. I don't really like the way it's just shoved in there, but so we got our capacitor. Takomoto is basically my primary resource for figuring out how to get this bike Baja ready. They have a lot of really helpful videos, and they have all the parts lists. The issue, I'm thinking it's just gonna, okay. I'm thinking it's just gonna go right here, but it doesn't really seem like, well, yeah, I guess we can just shove it down in there. That's as far as it's gonna go. See, I don't know, there's no instructions with it, which, whatever, but now you want to be kind of careful when you're working here. You don't want to accidentally touch these leads. But it looks like I should just barely be able to connect it and get it like routed away from the seat, the top of the seat. Okay, so here's the thing. You don't just want to start trying to hook it up without first fully disconnecting the negative terminal of the battery, because if you accidentally short out anything in here, you're in big trouble. So we're going to disconnect the negative terminal. Okay. So now we can safely work with the battery without worrying about shorting something out. So we're going to just make sure that's not touching. Yep, so it's fully disconnected. Okay. So we're going to disconnect the positive side now. And we're going to carefully add our I heard it hit the ground. Wow, that's lucky. That's really lucky. I had no clue that was in there. It doesn't even look like. Okay, so it just goes. If you do the same thing, it's just a serrated washer that goes like this. As you can see the two teeth marks here. So we're going to go ahead and add our capacitor to the battery like this. And for now, we're just going to hand tighten it. Now, one thing you don't want to do is accidentally cross the capacitor leads with your hand. That would not be good. And of course it's gonna fight me since it doesn't wanna. Shit. Of course, it's never simple. Never fucking simple. So that little nut in the battery fell down, and it doesn't really like that we've got 3 things stacked up here. So I got to get that nut up. And I really don't like how that's getting close. The capacitor shouldn't be charged when they shipped it, but again, capacitors can be pretty dangerous if you're not careful. Okay, so we got the nut to feed back up. All right, and it's just hand tight, so I can kind of like reconfigure and reorganize everything as I need to. Then we now very carefully are going to connect the negative, because it will immediately charge the capacitor, meaning that from now on we don't want to accidentally arc something where it doesn't belong, like to the positive side. So we're going to attempt to do it that way. So we're going to, yeah, and it looks like whenever they installed this trickle charger, they lost the lock washer on the ground, so that's great. Okay, now like I said, once you actually connect this, it's going to draw a ton of current to charge that capacitor. So you want to be extremely careful that you don't get your skin in the way of that. Whoa, okay. Yeah. Yeah, you see what I mean? It drew a ton of current very quickly in order to get that capacitor charged. So we're going to go ahead and, without going anywhere near the positive side, we're going to go ahead and get everything back together. Okay, now I still have both these terminals loose. Try and get this out of my way. There we go. Okay. Okay, so I got some wire sheathing and some zip ties, and we're just going to cover this to protect it from rubbing on the battery terminal. You probably only need about that much. Okay. Yeah, I'm really concerned the seat's gonna have something to say about that. Because like I said, it's pretty close. It's got these pads, but there's really not much space to those pads. Yeah, not a fan of this at all. Might have to come back and redo the wiring on the capacitor. The problem is now the capacitor's charged, and I don't have a way to drain it safely. You would need like a 12-volt light bulb or something. And all I have are LED lights, so it would take forever to drain it. Because you don't want to just discharge a capacitor by, you know, touching it to something. That is not smart. Okay. Where did I put the... This was supposed to be an easy video, and they just had given us 1 extra inch of wire. It would have been fine. Alright, so now we need to tighten our battery down. You don't want to overdo it because it is just, you know, copper and lead. And this side, since they neglected to replace the lock washer they dropped, I got to be a little bit more tight on it, but again, it's just copper and lead. You don't want to, you know, rip it out. Now the next problem is keeping this away from the seat. So I think we're going to have to use one of the zip ties they provided and kind of pull the wiring down away. Come on. Yeah, we're going to try and pull all this down away from the seat. Like that. I really am not a fan of this. I mean, it's not as jank as some of the stuff I've done on our road racing car over here, but it's still pretty jank. So, gotta make sure it's tight so it doesn't like vibrate a hole in anything. Okay, seems to be pretty decent. I'm gonna have to come back and check it before we do any races or anything and make sure it's not rubbing a hole in it. And then the capacitor here almost, I mean, it almost doesn't need a zip tie, but I am going to go ahead and run a zip tie if I can get it to cooperate. I'm gonna run a zip tie around this wire. Doesn't want to cooperate, but I think I can get it. We're gonna, come on, run a zip tie down, around. Yep, come on, there we go, got her. And then we're gonna use that to hold this wire down. So you see what I'm doing? I'm like holding everything down away from the seat. And I'm not gonna like overly tighten it, but we are gonna get it tight enough that it won't pop up. Okay, so everything is now wired in. This is not going anywhere. It is in there tight. Okay, get our tools out of the way. Trash. Okay, now the seat's gotta go back on, and hopefully there are no issues. So when you put the seat back on, you just want to get it lined up and then just come down and follow the contour of the bike. Okay, and yep, there we go. Check, make sure everything's hooked in. All right, we are good to go. Hopefully the bike still starts. And my luck these past couple days has not been good. And again, this is something you don't want to over tighten. And you don't want it to come loose, but you don't want it to like rip out. Okay. All right. Let's see if she's good to go. Cool. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.